Did you know that it is an illegal offense to make noise beyond a certain limit anywhere in Ghana from the hours of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.? Hello and welcome to Hewale, Ghana's first and best environmental program. This week we're looking at the pernicious problem of noise pollution in a new segment called Citizens Action with Aula. We're also going to be taking you to the greenest places in Accra. But first, let's hear from Citizens Action with Aula.
You know, noise pollution has reached a stage where one just doesn't know what to do. I get several complaints, so many complaints about noise pollution. If it's not the Bola taxis, it's a social event, or it's a church, the Muslim calls worship, or it's a social event. Sometimes you even have a funeral with the road closed, or you have vehicles speeding without using their mufflers. And what is sad is that you have the churches and the beer bars or drinking spots or event centers sometimes competing to make noise. Sometimes it's a relay. You start with the Muslim call for worship, a dawn preacher, then you have vehicles mounted with loudspeakers advertising a variety of goods, and then you have a social event, then you have the churches, and then they have a beer bar going on till the early hours of the morning, and then you go back to the Muslim call for worship. You know, enough is enough. Noise damages our health. We've had instances where it's been brought to our attention, two people who have had heart problems because of noise. They complained and complained and nothing was done. One actually died. The other had to have open heart surgery. Now, Professor Lade Wosono, a retired surgeon, has told us that noise kills. And he's explained about noise, how it can affect our heart, it can affect so many parts of our body. And that's why the Environmental Protection Agency has given permissible levels of noise for day and night. But the challenge is that in Ghana, because it's not just in Accra, it's all over, we appear to be suffering from a pandemic. And I'm not talking about COVID, I'm talking about the pandemic of lack of enforcement. I just want to read a complaint, or shall I say, an email we received, just to give you a feel of the desperation people are going through. And he says, "Hello, madam. Thanks a lot for all that eco-conscious citizens is trying to do for the country. I had almost given up until I came across your movement. I have noise pollution problems that I'm obliged to deal with or move house." I mean, look at that. Who wants to move house? Then he talks about an event center. He talks about a church, a beer bar, all competing to make noise. I have another example of an elderly man in Teshinungwa who has lived abroad. He's come to Ghana, got his house, and now he's in a state. There's a beer bar opposite his house, making so much noise that he's being driven away from his house. You know, this is just not on. We have local or assemblies. They have noise teams or environmental officers. They should enforce the bylaws on abatement of noise. Life is becoming almost intolerable. We have a constitutional right to peace and quiet in our homes. But how can we enjoy that right if a beer bar decides to make so much noise, a church decides to disturb the peace, and the authorities do absolutely nothing? Another example I'd like to bring to your attention is just up this road, Pakwanya Street. I'd like you to have a look at it. There's an unsafe looking structure. It's being used to operate a drinking spot until the early hours of the morning. It makes so much noise. I've actually been to La Dade Kotopo Municipal Assembly to get them to do something about it. And we are still waiting. And residents are suffering. So I'm inviting the authority to do the work it's been mandated to do and enforce the bylaws on abatement of noise. The bylaws are clear that when you're playing music, it should not go outside the confines of your property. So if I can hear you, we don't need a noise, what shall I say, to measure the sound. Once I can hear you, you've broken the law. The police also need to act. because the Criminal Offences Act 29 makes it an offence to make excessive noise, and the onus is on you to prove that you have permission to be making noise after 8 p.m. There's supposed to be no noise. According to Criminal Offences Act 29, there should be no noise between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. and the onus is on you to show that you have permission. Noise pollution is a menace. It's affecting the health of Ghanaians. I mean, would you like to go and see a doctor who hasn't slept because of noise pollution? Is he going to be able to give the right diagnosis? If you're traveling, do you want a pilot who hasn't slept all night? Do you want him to be piloting the plane? Or when there's equipment that can be dangerous being operated, do you want somebody who hasn't slept, or you want somebody who is alert? You're driving. Maybe that's why we have so many road accidents. You need the drivers to be alert. You can't be alert if you can't sleep because of noise pollution. So noise pollution is a clear and present danger that needs to be tackled.
And that brings us to the end of this week's program. Hey Wale, don't forget to like us, share and subscribe to Hey Wale on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter.